opening statement. We'll take questions.
50% of the credit for that win goes to our players. The other 50% goes to our fans. And I've been in here for a few loud games, passion-filled. This one ranks up there with the best ones. And I vividly remember not being able to hear when Juwan Evans was on his way to scoring, like, I think 20 straight to end the game. I was an assistant here against him. And this one was pretty good. Obviously, the play Mitch Solomon makes, my first year as head coach. But our crowd was sensational and really made a difference in us, staying the course. Because like all Big 12 games, it didn't just go this way from the 40-minute mark to zero. But our kids competed. They played with great pride. And I thought our defense in the second half was sensational.
Mike, you hosted a class last night. You're doing all this with the fans. It's starting to show an impact, do you feel like, doing things like that?
I don't know. Obviously, this game's always a big deal, Here's what I'd like to have happen. I'd like our fans to do that every game and to show up and watch their team compete. Because that's what you see when you go to elite basketball programs. And we haven't performed at an elite level consistently. I understand that. So this isn't in any way a dig at our fans. I'm just telling them that they can make the world a difference for us every single night. And I think their impact was felt tonight. So as far as the students and what we did last night, everything helps. Every little bit counts. I think them feeling like, it's important enough for me to take some time with them, to talk to them, to sit down with them, and ask them where they're from, and talk to them about what their hopes and dreams are for after college. Gives you a little bit buy-in. They feel like there's some skin in the game on our side. So again, they were really, really a big deal. And I told our team this, not to get ahead of this game. I've watched everybody in our league play multiple times. I think the best team that I've seen play is coming to here Saturday. So if tonight gave us a hump, we need another hump on Saturday. So we need them to come back Saturday 1 o'clock.
Mike, what went into the decision to start Woody tonight?
A lot of factors. Obviously, we've been struggling offensively. There's no question about that. Woody brings a lot of versatility to our lineup. And so thought we'd give him a shot, give us an opportunity to maybe space the floor a little bit more for Caleb. He's a guy who can also be a three-point shooting threat. He made a couple tonight. He can give you a chance to be more switchable defensively. It's kind of your traditional, and Marshall and I kind of talked about this before, kind of today's modern version small ball four-man. And everybody in our league's got somebody like him that's a prominent player on their team. And so, especially when you lose Musa and the dynamic nature of his play, what we were doing for the last 3 games obviously wasn't working. So it was time to look at something different. But credit to him, he responded. Not everybody steps up and then goes out and performs the way he was able to. And credit to him for accepting the challenge, preparing himself the right way, and then going out and executing.
Sherfield had 15 in the first half, didn't score in the second. You used Avery and CA5 on him. Just what did you think of the way you defended him half to half?
Yeah, it was like a different team playing defense on him. Now we fouled him twice on 3-point shots. Unfortunately, those are bad plays, but he also got some pretty good rhythm open shots in there that you just can't allow the other team's best player to get those kind of shots off early in the game, because then you have to change how you're going to guard to stop him. You can't play him straight up anymore. You got to really take a guy off of the rest of your defense and dedicate him to him, which really then you lose Groves for a couple threes. You give up a couple layups to Hill, and because you're scrambling, because you're really now trying to play 4-on-4. But I thought that those guys did a good job of making it more difficult. And we did have second and third bodies and sets of eyes when he did try to drive in there and make him play in traffic.
He didn't score when Avery was on the floor. Avery's had the wrists and things like that, but how much has defense still carried him through everything he's been going through?
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign of maturity. Avery Anderson 4 years ago couldn't do what he did for the last few games, which is struggle offensively and still be able to bring it with a high level of intensity and focus on the defensive end. So credit to him for him growing and understanding that there's more to the game than putting the ball in the basket, although it's a big part of what he does. But understanding there's value there, and you know, there's a good reason we're a pretty good defensive team. Obviously, we have the ultimate anchor in there, and Musa when he's healthy, but we also got two really, really good on-ball defenders in C5 and Avery, which now you got a pretty good combination of outside pressure and if you do get beat, somebody to help clean up mistakes. But you know, I thought the two Oklahoma kids were sensational tonight, you know, in terms of their energy and production, and you know, Bryce and Caleb Boone. So really, really complete team effort today.
What did you say at halftime to the team?
I honestly didn't say much. You know, I told them that, you know, it would be a shame to watch one guy come in here and beat us. Because essentially, you know, I think he scored 15 straight points at one point in the game. So, I mean, you know, we needed to take a little bit more pride in that challenge. And those guys, they, you know, I don't always go in immediately at halftime. You know, a lot of times we have the assistant coaches maybe talk to them about some things that we need to adjust, and then I come in maybe around the 10-minute mark. And by the time I got in there, they were kind of like, yeah, coach, we talked about this already. So, you know, for me, it was just more about keeping the pace of the game going the way we wanted it to. You know, today was the first time in about 3 games that we played fast. We were built to play fast. Our teams recruited the athletes to play fast, and you know, and I'm going to take the blame for this because I should. We go up to Kansas in the first game, and I'm like, hey, we can't play as fast as we normally want to because this place can get crazy. And it led to then us thinking that was the whole Big 12. Well, it really got us off track, and today was the first time we got back to playing with the tempo that we needed to. I don't know what the number of possessions ended up being, but we wanted it in the 80s, close to 90s, and I think we took 63 shots, so it was somewhere in that range.
Like 13 of 20 coming out of the half, that'll always help. But how did those first few baskets build the momentum for the offense and kept it going to the point where, you know, as even they said, OU on that side, that there was a point where they weren't coming back?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to have happen. You have to put teams away, right? You have to make the team start to think, maybe we'll get the next one. Hopefully this team is learning how to do that, how to keep their foot on the gas and finish. And we finished today, but a lot of it had to do with the way we started. We executed almost to perfection the first play of each half. And we got a layup for Caleb, and we got a wide open 3 for Woody. And I think that again sets a tone for, okay, the game plan is good. There's not going to be a ton of adjustments on that side. And now if we continue to defend, just being able to put it together. But to your point, starting the second half, getting the shots that we wanted, had a lot to do with us playing at the tempo that we were designed to play with.
Mike, I know you probably put a lot of stock into it, but when we look at this season up to this point, this kind of feels like a big important win for you guys.
Every win is. You know, sometimes that gets lost in the fact that this, I think now, because I think West Virginia and TCU played before us, so everybody's played 6 games. And in a lot of leagues, the best team is running away from everybody. Everybody's got a loss already in league play. You know, sometimes you get to somebody's 12-0 or 10-1 or whatever it is, and no, this thing's gonna be a fight all the way to the end. It's an 18-minute heavyweight bout, and you just can't get caught up in what this game is gonna mean for the next one. The second hardest thing you can do in this league is look ahead. The hardest thing you can do tomorrow is look back. Because you got to focus on now. You got to get better in practice tomorrow. And if you don't prepare the right way for your next opponent, then you're probably not going to win. It's really that simple. Every game is going to be its own entity. And you know, I'm glad we were able to get this done in front of our fans with our students back, because now we can try to have another good crowd on Saturday, have 2 more days of good prep, and then we'll have to play really well on Saturday at 1 o'clock against a team that's, again, playing as well as anybody in our conference.
I know we only played 2 minutes tonight, but are you confident that Musa is going to see a little more time come Saturday?
Again, I don't want to get ahead of any. I got to get a report to see tomorrow. Maybe he's sore, maybe, you know. But I thought his presence made a big deal. I mean, he came in there on 1.5 feet and got a stop for us by himself, essentially. I mean, anybody who doesn't recognize that part of our struggles has been because he's in there, they just don't want to. He's the most dynamic player in our league. period. There's some other guys who are much more talented offensively, but no one can impact the game without touching the basketball like he can. And I'm talking both ends of the court. Because you're like, hey, you don't throw it to him that much. He only averages 9 points a game. But because he's a lob threat, every time he sets a screen, someone has to come help. That's where you get open threes from. Guys get fouls, he gets offensive rebounds, kickouts for us, man. He just makes so many things happen. So we need to get him healthier. I hope he's better tomorrow. We'll check that out when we come to practice. But I'm thankful he was able to go out there. Because I think for our team, psychologically, it was good to see him go out there. I think for our fans, it was kind of a jolt of energy, and there was a time we were struggling a little bit, and we needed it.
You talked in here about how you want to get Woody playing with more confidence. How important could a game like this be, career high 12 points, 4 down the road, playing with more confidence?
Yeah, I mean, you hope, right? Your confidence is only as good as your work, though. You know, we talk about that every single day. Confidence comes from work. You feel good about performing when you know that you've spent the time and invested in what it's going to take to have success. When you don't, you're just hoping. And so then when it doesn't go well, subconsciously you're like, maybe I shouldn't really be out here. You know, it's kind of like not studying for a test. You go take the test and you're like, I don't really know that answer. I'm going to put something down because it's probably better than leaving it blank, but you're not really confident that you're going to have it right. So when you study, which I hope whoever students here study, right, for their tests, you feel much more confident in the way you're going to perform. So it's really no different. And tonight, I hope it's validation for him that the work he put in to prepare for today is something he can build on.
Coach, when Bryce hit that wing three coming out the timeout, I mean, you ran after him almost all the way to half court. You know, yelling at him, all excited. Do you remember what you said to him, or was that moment?
I probably didn't say anything coherent, to be honest. I think that's part of the reason they keep looking at me, because they think I'm just moving my lips but not really saying words. But, you know, Bryce is a classic example of a kid who's playing well and sometimes can't appreciate that he's playing well because the expectations are crazy. They're out of whack. They really are. He's a good player. He works his butt off. He's probably in the top 10 of hardest working kids I've ever been around. His dedication to the game is really up there. But sometimes he overthinks and does things that he doesn't need to, trying to prove a point. He's a really good shooter, and sometimes he has turnovers because he doesn't just shoot open shots. But when you look at the stats, most of the time when he's shooting, catch and shoot threes, he's pretty darn good at it. And we just got to keep him understanding that until people stop it, then don't stop it yourself.
Turnovers were down in Waco. You only had 7 tonight. Is there something going into that?
I think the guys are tired of running on the treadmill, to be honest. You know, we actually have to buy a new one. Someone, I think, intentionally broke the one we have. But we'll just bring another one in here. You know, eventually we'll tell them that they can't break enough treadmills, that we can't find somebody to pay for a new one for us. So they should probably stop turning the ball over.
Do you have a culprit in mind?
I'm not going to call names in here. They all hate it.
Anything else for Coach?